Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And that's the whole spiel. That's the spiel I do every time, and I think we're ready to roll. Um, Blick was signed up first, but Blick is not, unless I'm wrong, Blick is not with us yet. So I will hold on to him for later. So that means that Jesse is first. I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay. Hello.
Jesse, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back, man.
Thank you. I was recently asked to blurb or write something about a short story collection that's coming out later this month by a writer named Kristen Garth. And I wrote it and I put it on my Substack, so here it is. I'm just going to read it to you. I liked the book. Hold on a second. The book is called You Don't Want This, and here we go. You Don't Want This, Kristen Garth, Pink Plastic Press, 2022, 161 pages. Kristen Garth's short story collection, You Don't Want This, is a capillary bursting, dopamine cresting, psychosexual rush with a hefty side order of darkness. The majority of these stories revolve around a woman's sexual experiences, whether as a fully participating subject or as a sexual object, taking in her surroundings and learning about the landscape of men's and women's desires. Those who have read Kristen Garth's rapidly multiplying collections of poetry will recognize the heavily erotic subject matter, but the form it is delivered in is slightly different, and therefore there are slightly different shades of consciousness. That being said, the sonnet form, with combinations of internal rhyming patterns Garth has notoriously claimed as her own territory, does often survive in the prose of the stories, like a waltzing partner directing the reader to keep moving in time, keep stepping and whirling to a formal beat. The title story, You Don't Want This, nicely sets the stage for the secret world of transactions, delineations, understandings, and rules which populate the collection. A new, barely legal exotic dancer faces off with a customer in a strip club who dismisses her, saying he doesn't want her because of her dangerously young age. As things happen, she winds up giving him a little enticement in a lap dance before mastering him, cutting him off midway, and walking away with all the power. The ending of the story, as the dancer goes backstage to adjust herself, is too much of an uppercut not to repeat. I fix my braids and head out to find another you. I will be busy all night because you are everywhere. None of you want this. All of you are liars. The negotiations over power, who gets it, how it is taken or given, how it is enacted, what that differential means, gives the collection a strong, intoxicating flavor of BDSM liqueur perfect for voyeurs. Dangerous encounters are best, if not for the characters, at least for the sake of fiction, it seems. Again and again, the stories explore moments of sexual activation where control is lost or transformed. Mild spoilers follow in this paragraph. If you're really curious about the predicaments and plot arrangements of Garth's stories here, skip this paragraph and buy the book with no regrets. Stories like 14 and Kneeling and Gynecology, Khakis, and Videotape offer brief glimpses of young girls at crucial turning points and moments of what can only be called degradation. They're very difficult to read and contain bitter, harrowing, well-crafted endings that elevate them above being mere horror stories. The Balletamane is a welcome flash of humor as the director of an expensive ballet class has to contend with what is revealed by tardy payers. Another Day at the Office involves a woman and her friend invited to a hotel by an aging rock star for whom such dalliances are commonplace, but not for the two women. Sex can carve a vast gulf between its participants. In You're Just His Type, a young woman sitting in on a murder trial for a college course exchanges glimpses with the rapist murderer on trial and becomes implicated in an unbearably intimate situation with him with a, shall we say, killer ending. It is not too hard to guess that Garth has learned from her prolific sonnet writing how to tie a bow at the end of a narrative, how to give the material a final exquisite wriggle to expand the dimensions of understanding, how to peel away barriers to the revelation of truth. I am always won over by endings, the way they leave you hanging in midair with nothing to grab onto, and these endings were my favorite parts of reading the stories, some of which were very intense and had unpleasant themes. The final story of the collection is a novella called The Meadow and featured a sustained, vivid glimpse into the hermetic world of doms and subs. The interactions between the characters and the suspense was clever enough to keep me reading even as the dire straits they were facing became more hellacious. The ending was satisfying, uplifting, and carried an important lesson for those of us who do not, at least consciously, inhabit such worlds of power and control and sexual transaction. For as arcane and specialized as the world of BDSM may seem, it might bear uncanny resemblances to the world of cloaked transactions and power plays the rest of us inhabit, without the reward of a clear sexual charge. But is the book hot? Will it get you off? Under Garth's management, the descriptions of the action are blistering and original, and not that I read a lot of erotic fiction, would seem to put other more tepid writers to shame. I've been watching Kristen Garth for a few years. I can only say it's heartening and inspiring to see her continue on her literary path and winning the game. Okay, thank you.
Jesse, I love your book reviews. I've read a few of them. I've published at least one of them. And you do something that, like, with your reviews that I think only like great reviews do. And that's like, you're able to carefully balance a deep reading of the text with like your own like prosaic embellishments, right? I'm not sure like the right way to say this, but like the prose of your reviews are always very evocative, but not in a way that like effaces the subject matter itself, right? Not in a way that obscures or takes away from the analysis of the work. And you're really fucking good at this. And this is just another example of that. And Christian Garth's book sounds good as well. And I'm not sure if I'm not a big, I don't know, I'm not a big erotic fiction guy, but it sounds compelling. And I like the way you describe the different like psychological dynamics at play here. I think that could be really fascinating.
That's exactly what an erotic fiction guy would say.
I I don't read erotic fiction, and I've only written a couple of pieces of erotic fiction. Okay. Anyway.
Wow. What erotic fiction have you written?
Oh, I don't know. I can't take credit. None of it would be published under my name, you know?
I remember when I found that and linked it to me. That was amazing. Oh my.
Anyway, if you go under Misery Tourism and you look under my name, you will find no pieces of erotic fiction published under my name. So that's all I will say. Anyway, Jesse, it was a fantastic review.
Thank you. Thanks.
Grapes is up next.
Okay, so my piece is nonfiction, and it takes place today at 6:44 a.m. With my aunt, the energetic selfie taker, and my other aunt, the enthusiastic flirt, we are off on a trip to Parque Tayrona Park. The bus almost missed us. Cows lined some of the roads past idiosyncratically gated homes, or as the natives here call them, fincas. On the bus, my flirtatious auntie toys with the tour bus co-pilot, Louis. Aren't you going to massage my feet? She's sitting in the most uncomfortable spot with no leg room on the bus.
Okay,
with
Ian, can I have my phone back?
On the bus with an elevated floor impeding the comfort of her legs, she repeats to the co-pilot of clear blue eyes, "Won't you massage my feet, love?" Touching her ankles, he squeezes her pedicured feet. Arriving to the location of our destination, she asked, "Love, will you watch my stuff?" "Yes, I will," he answered. On getting up and exiting the bus, she exclaims to Louis, "I love you."
That was a fantastic piece. I love the rhythm of that piece. Like it's really hard, I think, with like mundane, like the description of mundane, like day-to-day affairs in fiction, to give them a sense of like vividness without like overselling them while still allowing them to like have their gentle day-to-day character. And I think you've done this fantastically here, where this piece, like, it feels vivid, it feels poetic, but it doesn't feel like it's been a bit embellished upon. It feels like life, right? And I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
The part when you said my flirtatious aunt, like that was placed so perfectly, like it bounced with the other words. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. I feel like my tone is not there for the energy of the characters, but I'm just sort of like a monotone character.
I mean, I think it's everyday stuff. So I mean, I think it's perfect. Actually, very fitting.
Yeah, I think the delivery
Yeah,
was
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, because it
Thank
felt
you, Nate.
like very.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say it felt very like at the pace of life, like the way you'd experience it.
Monotone is good, I think, too. It can I mean, Tao Lin's stuff, when he reads it, it becomes his own performance of it. But if you read his own, if you read his stuff, you'll have a different experience with it. So maybe it's just your way of doing it and that's you. But yeah, I don't think it takes away from it.
Yeah, I'd rather you do that because I think what you did was really good and not like fucking Ruby Car with their fucking earrings and shit.
Oh, the intonation.
But anyway, sorry.
Oh man.
Anyway, thank you, great. That was a fantastic piece. Somebody, Garth in the chat is saying that I kind of look like the guy from Come Town. I've never listened to Come Town.
I think you look like a podcast. What?
I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
but moving on. I don't think Blick is with us yet, is he? No, no Blick. So then, Troy, I have you next on the docket. I know you said you PM'd me before and said you wanted to be moved towards the center, so I moved you back a couple of slots. But are you ready yet? If not, I can move on and circle back to you.
Yeah, circle back, please.
Will do, will do.
Thanks, man.
So, Josh, you're up next.
Sure. So I don't like to preface things usually just to influence how it's perceived. So I just wrote this today. It's an idea I've had for a while. So it's a first draft.
Josh, before you start, I'm sorry to interrupt, but how do you want me to credit you on this piece? I have been crediting you not under your name. Like, I think is that what you still want?
Yeah, because this one I don't know. I don't. Yeah. So
okay.
Thanks.
I'll just say the usual thing that I do. So.
Yeah, I have like maybe some Ukraine poems. That might be for the after party though. Anyways.
Okay.
This one, but yeah, so it's a flash fiction. It's an idea that I've had for a while. I just wrote it today. Not on government time, not on my contract time. Just did it in the very small window before this reading. Seems impossible, but I made it happen. So it's called The Biggest Word Search Book in the Universe, 1,328 Puzzles, Volume 1. He'd been making the trip to the long-term care facility twice a week for 4 years. He and his mom had always been close, so there was no question about the visits, no mounting resentment, despite also being very different. Different in the way that he was different from his entire family. Nobody in the family shared his interest in language. They were practical people. When he got his tenure in the late 90s teaching English Lit at York University, following the publication of several avant-garde stories in prominent literary journals, well, it was quite a departure. Tenure track, bitches. Before retiring, his mom was a hairstylist. His aunt and uncle were in finance, human resources. His grandmother had been a homemaker, his grandfather a salesman. His dad, he hadn't been around. As an adult, he'd heard that his dad ended up in telecom. Even in his absence, apparently, the man was a disappointment. He'd been holding out hope that his dad might have done something creative, esoteric. So after his mom's dementia diagnosis, he'd reflected a lot on this. He no longer felt alienated. He just wanted to know what had made him the way he was. Where was the connection? It felt like there was a missing piece. It was around this time that he recalled the word searches. When he was a kid, he'd often seen his mom working through them as she sat in front of the TV after a long day at the salon. Sometimes he'd work on them with her. He liked it best when she let him circle the words himself. He realized then that some words could be special, set apart from the others, and that it had to do with the arrangement of the letters and words on the page more than anything else. So sometime in her first year at Whispering Pines Retirement Community, he started bringing her books of word searches that he'd order from Amazon. Something to pass the time. She hadn't done them in years. She'd taken to Candy Crush, other apps like that, but outwardly welcomed the distraction. It was easy to see why. It would be better if such facilities were just numbered, he'd often think when visiting. They're industrial. People are processed. The patients are treated with all the tenderness of an assembly line. It's not cruel by intention or design, just an indifference built into a system that isn't any less harsh for that fact. He knew that Whispering Pines was no different from other long-term care facilities. Years ago, with his then girlfriend, he'd visited a different one several times. Sunny Meadows. Her mom had suffered from dementia too. The situation was the same. There was no point dwelling on it. You just did what you could. As the months and years passed, you just kept bringing the word searches, whatever, the flowers, celebrating birthdays, Hallmark holidays. And that was what he did. I can almost see him walking by the front desk, booklet tucked under his arm, though he's never described it for me exactly. Over time, of course, the enthusiasm faded. But even as his mom's condition worsened, there were random flashes of her old self. Sometimes it seemed as if the word searches triggered these lucid moments. She'd notice the puzzles he'd brought, and she'd start talking as if they were in front of the TV in his suburban childhood home. The doctors had told him that this sort of thing could happen. It had been happening a lot less lately, though. Then, last week, on the eve of his next scheduled visit, he saw it on the rack at the corner store. The biggest word search book in the universe, 1,328 Puzzles, Volume 1. Maybe this will be the one to bring her back again, he thought. He paid for his beef jerky and the puzzle booklet and started walking home. Around the same time, on the other end of the city, his mom was being wheeled out for dinner in the cafeteria by an indifferent personal support worker. The menu for Mondays, he knew, featured Southwest fried chicken with syrup, creamy coleslaw, waffle, and fruit cocktail. It's unclear which she choked to death on. He got the call just as he was stepping in from the corner store. They didn't specify. He probably wouldn't have heard even if they did. After a few days, he noticed the biggest word search book in the universe, 1,328 Puzzles, Volume 1, where he'd left it when he got the call. There's no way he was going to throw it out, and for some reason he couldn't explain, the blank pages upset him. So he figured he might as well do the puzzles. This evening, he's seated across from me as we ride together on the subway. He's working away on another. It looks like he's no more than an eighth through the book. I imagine the pen he's using has a long-term care facility's logo on its shaft, 2 evergreen trees bookending the name. It's perhaps written in light serif font, Whispering Pines. I can't be sure, though. I actually can't verify any of the above. I don't even know the guy. Here on the subway, around 7 p.m. on February 16th, 2019, it's the first time I've ever seen him. He hasn't told me his name. We haven't spoken. It's just, I don't get how an adult could be so engrossed in something as intellectually dubious as a word search. There are chess problems, Sudoku, the New York Times crossword, bestsellers and cult classics, even zoning out. Living in your mind before it eventually turns against you seems more dignified. I really don't understand. This is the only reasonable explanation I could come up with.
Josh, I, I love your ability to make Josh Sherman the asshole a character in every story, and because this is a really remarkable example of that, right? Because you have this really like kind of bittersweet story, right? Like funny, but like it's funny and dark, like all your stories are funny and dark, but like humane and bittersweet in a way that your stories usually aren't. But that I love the way that like the asshole narrator swoops in at the last minute to turn this into Josh Sherman's story. But setting even that aside, which I actually did like, I know maybe it sounds like I'm being like snarky or something, but I actually really do like that touch, the unreliable narrator who like sneaks in to make like a story that seems heartfelt, like about themselves, right? One thing that I've noticed about your work that's back again here is you have a remarkable skill at taking like really mundane objects, like, and first of all, like reminding us, like vividly reminding us of their existence, and also like infusing them with so much like meaning and character, which I think is rare. Because like how many times in our lives have we seen those stupid fucking word search books and wondered, well, who buys those and assume, oh, it's somebody's grandmother, right, or whatever. And those are kind of unconscious thoughts that just blink in and out of existence. And most people don't catch those thoughts the way you do and craft them into something like bigger and significant. So it's cool is what I'm saying.
Exactly what William said. It's like every time you read something, Josh, I'm like reminded, oh yeah, this is why I love reading, because you can be brilliant and like make anything really fun because you have a brilliant mind. It's like, God, it's almost sappy, but I mean it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also here for the Sherman self-insert.
So what I like about it is that I like a certain kind of postmodern fiction where I like auteurs, basically. Not that I fancy myself on, but I like when there's always this voice behind the scenes, you know, even whatever, winking, whatever. That's what I try to do with that. But in order for it to work, I felt like the story in the beginning had to be somewhat earnest or whatever. So that's why I was kind of nervous to read it, because I was like, oh, people are gonna think I'm fucking sappy reading this thing. But I didn't want it to be overtly sappy. You know what I mean? It had to seem like a reasonable fiction. And then so, anyways, it seems like the first draft worked on that level, and
It works, yeah, it does.
and yeah, and just taking that mundane object. I mean, actually, the story was because I was on the subway and I did see. Now it was recently, but I did see someone with a crossword, and it actually upset me. Like I was thinking, and I pretty much wrote it in my head, and then just didn't do it. You know, put fingers to keyboard until tonight. But it was something I came up with this whole story about, you know, trying to justify, because really I'm a humanist, so I'm trying to understand why someone would do something so fucking retarded. And so, you know, I'm
Josh, what's your problem with to me, when I see one of those books, it makes me nostalgic. It does. It like you say in your story, it makes me think of my grandmother. You know, it's like, oh, like, yeah, that's
well,
that's
nothing
what we
against
used to do
the
to pass
grandmother, but you know, I think that well, basically all the details, and I wasn't sure whether to make it a thing in the story. A lot of the details from that I make up of his life are from the narrator's life, but I just don't know how to play that. But you know what I mean. But anyway, so I just have this real disdain for when I was a chess tournament player, I frowned on anyone who would just haphazardly do a puzzle. I was like, why aren't you just doing one thing and trying to be like the best in the region at it? But that's my
See, I have a similar disdain for those type of puzzles like Sudoku and word puzzles, especially like you mentioned crosswords, and if that comes through in the work, if that's what you're wondering about, that definitely comes through as for me as someone who just also dislikes those. It comes through.
But especially word searches, because I researched this
Yeah.
after, and word searches, there are articles about how they have like no academic, like no, even for grade ones, no value. Like it's
Yeah.
like
I mean,
anyway, so I don't want to ramble on too much, but really fuck word searches, and thanks for having me.
Josh, are you not a Wordle fan?
Again, there's chess, man. I still limit myself. That's a role. That's an imposition. That's something I impose on myself. I will only, if I'm going to do a puzzle, it's going to be a chess puzzle, and I'm only going to play chess, even though I don't play tournaments anymore. That's it. That's it for me.
Fair enough.
Cut
Thank you,
off.
John.
I'm cut off.
Thank you for sharing, Josh. So Colton is up next.
All right.
Colton, you could finally join us, huh?
I swear to God, like I have been working every single Friday for, gosh, I guess, when did Misery Loves Company start? Like 2020?
Yeah, June of 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, every Friday I'd be working. I'm like, fuck, I want to come. And then I eventually found a bunch of, I'm from Memphis, so I found some writers in Memphis. And my friend Daphne here is the fearless leader of that writing group. And so she helped me kind of write out a bunch of stories that I've submitted to y'all have been workshopped through them. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
fantastic. So what are you going to share with us tonight?
So I had a question. I have two, or let's see, a poem and a short story. Is it okay if I read two? I know nobody's read two yet,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely. We're actually way ahead of schedule tonight because we didn't have many people sign up. And most of the people who have signed up have read short pieces. And we've got a couple of AWOL too. So knock yourself out.
hell yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the poem first. It's called Fucking Die Embodied Scum. It's 2005 and I'm walking down along sidewalks fit for stable families and golden retrievers. The wind blows away shards of grass into a nearby drainage ditch. I notice my neighbor friend is sitting on his lawn watching his brother and some older kids building a catapult in their driveway. They're using store-bought wood in their stepfather's toolkit. What are they going to do with that? I ask. Launch some frogs across the man-made lake behind our house, probably, my friend replies. The moving surface of Earth is filled with strokes of rocky hills and stormy eyes. We are here on a quest that we can't remember, but I remember driving in my car. I can smell your hair floating next to me. Highway billboard signs that read XXX Christ return, call now, pass by quickly in our peripheral. We end up at some restaurant with a peacock idol. We go to a museum and stare at Washington's portrait, but that's not entirely true, because metaphysical holes and electromagnetic fissures are tearing apart the forms of the few memories of you that still survive. You are a leaf on the edge of fall, soon to be stuffed into a bag and lit aflame. The impossibility of a rescue mission demands my constant anxiety. All I can do is kiss all over Abraham Lincoln's face and suck in the taste of paint thinner through my worn out lips. Good God, relax. You do not develop breast cancer from getting your nipples pierced. Calm down, you neurotic whore. I'm tied to a chair and all I can do is watch Mario fuck Pikachu with a dragon dildo strap on. Lakitu sits on his cloud and live streams the entire event to people all over the world. They watch all of it from start to finish. My childhood room is full of skulls, animal heads, and an aluminum Christmas tree. The color wheel paints primary colors over the cold bones and sky blue wall paint. All I can do is play with formless, soul-faded fetish objects that linger behind the screen. At night, they materialize and cut my stomach open so that my innards slide out onto the carpet, except for my heart. If only I could drop a nuclear bomb onto the nodes of this ancient network. If only I could take the plug out of the grid and watch people bring violence to this wretched island. If only I could play that online role-playing game and come in 30 seconds with you. If only the world could truly die and give birth to a brand new day. So yeah, that was the first one. The next one is Pat a Cake, and I want to preface with Pat a Cake. This is like based on a true ass story. This happened, oh gosh, today's what? Friday. This happened last Friday. Yeah. So yeah, I'll go ahead. With full seriousness, the man covered in scabs at the end of the bar announces, I need someone to come into the bathroom and take a video of me and my buddy doing patty cake with our pants down. I close my copy of Concerning the Spiritual and Art by Vasily Kandinsky and look over at this guy and his buddy drinking PBRs and laughing with the barkeep. People think we're gay because we wrestle and like to get naked, but we're just bored most of the time. We love to laugh. He says, his friend chimes in, yeah, I mean, we just got done doing mini sword fights in the bathroom, but now we need to be filmed doing patty cake. Unable to resume my reading, I moved down closer and asked the two guys where they're from. Both of these guys are from Detroit, Michigan. There's Kevin the quiet, who only wakes up his expressive personality when he's had 4 beers. He's here for work, but he didn't say much about it. And then there's Pat the construction worker, whose brother is working on a new skyrise project in town, but he's here to have fun with Kevin. Pat talks about how he loves to fight. He's been in 35 fights total in his life, and he's won 15 of them. Apparently, he even got into a fight with a guy at a kid's 1-year birthday party. And now that I look closer at Pat, his scabs look like nail scratches. Raining red slashes span across his face, chin, and chest covered in tattoos. But his smile emanates brightly from under his weathered facade. Pat shows me his hands and how fucked they are from years of fighting and construction. His pinky is set in place like a quarter rest note. Finally, Kevin interrupts and brings us back to the patty cake thing. Yeah, so we're gonna go to the ladies' restroom. Pat will sit on the toilet. I'm gonna sit on the chair nearby. Someone is going to film us, and then we're gonna patty cake. Pat chimes in, don't worry, you won't see our balls or anything, unless you want to. And so after we come to an agreement on the promise that I get paid $20, I shake Pat's hand and we seal the deal. During a busy rush of bar folk demanding cocktails, Pat, Kevin, and I exit the bar and skip to the bathroom together, laughing like idiots. This is gonna be fucking awesome, Pat says. My dick is already erect, Kevin shouts. We get into the bathroom, but Pat has to pee, so I give him some privacy while Kevin goes back to the bar to get his phone for me, the newly hired videographer. I wait outside the bathroom while my new friend relieves himself, and soon enough, Kevin comes back. The flush is heard, and we know it's go time. Kevin and Pat go to their positions with their beers, and I'm set up against the door to get a good wide shot view of the half-naked patty cake bathroom show. The bathroom is dimly lit with a solid peach chrome chair facing the white toilet. The wall next to the toilet is bottom half wall and top half mirror. Black paint and tissue paper strewn on a cool-toned beehive tile floor all set a particularly perplexing set. Not so pornographic, but not necessarily real either. A small plant sits in the corner by the chair, and the hand washing station quietly sits in the adjacent corner near the door. The guys pull down their pants in unison and sit their old hairy asses on their respective smooth thrones. I get the flash going on the camera and the moment arrives. I count down from 3 and say action while pressing the record button. The men clink beers, cheers all around, take a chug, and commence with their handiwork. I can't stop laughing, so the camera shakes confusingly with the 2 men embodied in the frame. Both guys smack palms and sing out the tune to the patty cake. Patty cake, patty cake. Their balls and thighs jiggle on porcelain and metal. They cannot keep the rhythm. They don't know the words to patty cake, but neither are camera shy, which is nice. The video is 3 takes total, 46 seconds. Sentimental jackass feelings erupted in their childlike musings as my befuddled voyeur-like presence gave a material absurdity to the ridiculous situation. After they both finished their routine and gave thumbs up to the camera, I emerged from behind the camera and we all decided to take pictures as a celebratory homage to the tomfoolery. Pat and I stand posted up at the bathroom door and we pull down both of our pants and then our underwear. We hide our dicks with our shirts, but let our ball sacks hang out for the glory of brotherhood. Kevin snaps a photo with a lightning flash. After they thank me for my services, we all exit the bathroom and slowly walk into the hallway darkness, closer in spirit and fulfilled with that essence of an ancient, primitive carnival lasting through even the bleakest Armageddon. There we go. That's it.
Colton, both of those pieces were fucking phenomenal. That's so different too, so fucking fantastically different, right? But both very, very good. That poem is such a wonderful statement of like the absurdity of living in the modern like fucking social media environment, right? Where you're just constantly bombarded with just bizarre images and yet like and in a constant state of like perpetual like wish fulfillment, but yet you're constantly like shallow and empty and really would just like to pull the plug on some level, right? That's fantastic. And the second one, very funny, yeah, but also like having published a few of your pieces, right, and having read several of your pieces, is probably the kindest, the most kind, gentle piece of writing that I've seen you produce, and effective too. You know, just a nice piece about like camaraderie and brotherhood and mutual bonding over letting your balls hang in a public restroom, which is, it's fucking good shit. It's great shit, Colton. It's fantastic, and I'm glad you shared it with us.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I'm just glad that I happened to be at that bar and was willing to do anything for $20. So
Yeah, serendipity, right? Thank you so much, Colton.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
And I think Troy is ready to roll now.
Just wanted to interject, and
There you go.
I also like the balls hanging thing. Like 6ix9ine is often like going on about how he lets his let your nuts hang and whatnot. And so I like so I like that you kind of channeled 6ix9ine. I think with that story is what you were ultimately doing. Anyways.
That must be it. Okay, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Colton. Troy, the mic's yours.
All right, cool. Thanks for letting me do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I always like just like tagging on, at the end. But yeah, this is cool. All right, I'm gonna read from my first book because it came out 7 years ago this month. So I'm gonna read like 2 short things and then a thing that's new. That's kind of unfinished, but whatever. The first one is called Hitler's Mustache. And it's in Wichita Stories. Denise hadn't even been at Mays High 3 months when the rumors began. I was in a mandatory physical education class, second period, the first time I saw her. She was in class right after mine, and we brushed shoulders in the hallway a few times. She was pretty enough, I'd say, with long wood-burnt hair down her back in waves and an olive complexion. She was in the middle ground on fashion, which told me all I needed to know about her life at home. I was in the same boat. My parents never could afford to make me a popular walkabout with their conservative clothing purchases. It's like my dad used to say, you take what you can get, and then later, when you're all grown up, you'll thank God you didn't have enough. It was after gym when Denise came walking by and tried talking with Joe Donnelly. Joe gave her the old cold shoulder and said, "Oh, wait, do I know you?" Quick as machinery, Denise sniffed her face into her head, sucked back her tears, washing away the few nice memories of the boy, and wiped her nose on her puke-tan cardigan. She looked suicidal, really. I tried to say something, apologize for Joe, but nothing came to me. If her head wasn't destined for a noose, I thought it surely is now. I felt rotten, but her hurt had no effect on Joe. In fact, he kept walking, strutting, really. He left her in the dust, a backdrop, and shamefully so did I. That was fucked, man. I had to pause a moment, process my guts. Jesus, I said. That's just plain fucked up, dude. Yeah, Joe laughed. It's whatever, man. She's old news. I banged her a week ago right up against my dad's T-Bird. Pretty decent, but I'm through with her now. Old news. He flexed his muscles, had a peek at those few smallish lumps before slinging his leather jacket up and around his shoulders. He laughed. Dude, that chick doesn't know the first thing about grooming. Now, me, myself, I like it when it's sheared. And usually, he said, stabbing both thumbs into his chest. In my experience, these chicks keep it that way, ready, but she doesn't know the first thing about it. He paused, tightened some curls around his index finger, face puzzled, scrunched and abstracted by memory. It was like Hitler's mustache or something. I swear to God, dude, I've never seen anything like it. He shook his head and laughed a cold minute straight. and then he hushed into slow silence when he saw his girlfriend, Blair Shepherd, crossing over from the bathroom to greet us. By fifth period, a third of the school knew, some of the crueler ones giving the old Heil Hitler salute behind Denise's back as she passed them in the halls. All day long, her eyes sought after the perpetrators of the laughter, and all day the sound abruptly shifted to a fade before her stare could focus and penetrate them. In Mrs. Jones' class, Earth Science, seventh period, I heard about Denise's mustache from Amelia St. Clair, which was shocking because Amelia wasn't the type to gossip. She was in all the clubs, including the religious one all the Episcopalians flooded on Tuesday morning. Nothing special, I guess, just shocking coming from her. I thought about it a lot, especially that first night. It repulsed me. I mean, I kind of had a crush on the girl for a while, and then all of a sudden the stuff about a Hitler mustache comes about and gets me thinking she's gross. A few weeks later, Matthew Darby wrote on his Twitter feed, "What a night." And yes, it's true. Hashtag Heil Hitler. Turk Van Diesen was the only kid I talked to that year who thought the whole thing with Denise was fucked up. Just so typical, he said. People can be so fucked up and stupid. It's like sociopathic behavior or something, almost, if you ask me. It's fucking Dahmer wannabes, these Nazis and pederasts of the fucking future, walking the halls like they own the goddamn century. So fucking typical. They should be counting their prayers, really. You know, if they pray that she didn't come in here blasting away with her daddy's Glock. Really, man, I'm serious as a fucking heart attack. I wouldn't have blamed her if she had. All right, maybe that's a little dramatic, but what do I care? My conscience is clean. He searched his backpack for a lighter, came up empty-handed, then looked around the school parking lot to make sure we weren't being watched. "You got a light?" "Sorry, don't smoke," I said, lying. He looked at me with the strange burning eyes of his. "Really," I told him, "I don't." He hissed, called me a fucking liar, spat on the sidewalk, and wiped his hand with this pinned-on skull near his knuckles through a greasy clump of green hair. All this eventually culminated in me asking Denise to the homecoming dance after PE one day. I crossed my fingers and scrunched my face. I worried she had noticed the yellow pit stains on my t-shirt, that I hadn't showered with the jocks in the locker room because I was too scared of their manlier physiques and abundant pubic populations. But she didn't care about all that. And to my surprise, she said yes, and with no reluctance of voice either, just pure sweetness, voice like candy. She had this big smile across her face, and her skin looked made out of only the best things of the earth. My mom dropped us off at the school at 8. By 8:15, we were 10 blocks away at Sunrise Park, fooling around by the seesaw. By 8:20, my fingers were lost inside her, my mouth wet and tugging at her lips and tongue, latching to her teeth and sucking in her breath by the lungful. It's true, by the way, what they said about her pubic foliage, the historical horizontal shape. I took it all in too, all I could swallow of it. And it was beautiful and righteous and everything that hadn't been said or taught or even permitted of me to think. We never talked to each other again. Every time I think of Denise, my heart gurgles. I didn't understand it for the longest time, but I think sometimes truth can only come out as gurgles. And most of the time, that's the only way it makes any sense. Sounds like a heart with holes taking on water. The truth of my story is my heart was already fucked and sinking long before the rumors even began. It's not an excuse, it's a fact. And I think I'm in love. All right, that's the first one. And then I got this piece called Just Rain. He picks me up in the alley in his rusty old pickup. He just sort of grunts when I get in and goes for the gas. I take the hint and stare through the window at the trees. Pretty soon they're little more than a wide green strip pressed against the gray sky. I say, "Cindy says you've been hanging around with Scott." I say, "Looks like maybe some rain." I say, "Why do you want me to come if you're not even going to talk to me?" He says, Last night I saw 2 fat mama raccoons with 7 little babies. I watched them a while scavenging for food, but I got cinder blocks on the garbage cans with bungee strapped across the tops, so they weren't getting anything there. He laughs, spitting tobacco juice in a Bud Light bottle, one hand on the steering wheel, digging the curves of his crotch with the other. He says, I saw they were about to give up, so I went inside and dug some scraps of meat out of the trash. And you know what? You know what they did? I say, what'd they do? He says, I'll tell you what they did. They tore each other fucking apart. He spits again, a big old glob of amber, and turns the radio up a notch. A bunch of fuzz with the preacher's voice bleeding through it. He says, those fucking animals. I say, always up to something, aren't they? He says nothing. He's all eyes thrust against the wet windshield and alcohol in his veins. I say, so you've been hanging around with Scott? He says, see that cloud swirling up there? I say, man, rain's really starting to come down. I say, maybe you should slow it down a bit. The sky is gray, the rain blowing sideways in sheets. And when I look over to inspect the odometer, the needle's stuck at 90. I say, please slow down. I say, how can you even fucking see? He says, you'll be all right. You always are, aren't you? I say, just slow the fuck down, okay? He slows down just a smidge. I noticed some blood on his shirt, shape of Florida as a semi passes, all headlights and weight. One unhealthy motherfucker behind the wheel, skulking roadways for something to do come nightfall. I say, what's on your shirt? I say, is that blood on your shirt? He says, listen. He says, I thought I already told you. He says, I haven't been hanging around with Scott, all right? I nod and slide down into my seat, lighting a cigarette alone, hoping the sky changes to pink to orange to light, but the storm only thickens. And a couple of times I feel the truck hydroplane beneath me, all 4 tires skipping over the water like eroded stones, and I don't even know where we're going. All right, that's the second one. And then I just got this thing I've been working on and it's I don't know what to call it, so I'm just going to call it partial suicide. Okay. The summer Corky wore puka shells and Amelia's belly grew fat with fetus. Little Tommy from down the street stole his parents' car, drove out to Lake Afton, and in his last human gesture, made his entire life into a subject to query by leaving his blood on the beach. There was a note. All it said was, I needed a nap. Don't we all, is what my dad said. It was also the summer my dad decided he'd be a gardener. Mom got her hands dirty too, peppers, tomatoes, and green onions. Everything tended to with love bears fruit, they told me. Then Corky started smoking meth. After a month, the garden fell into disrepair. Mom started painting past what was left of her nails into the flesh, and the salsa Dad had planned to make fresh still came from jars. I spent a lot of time alone, staring at walls, plugging my ears to the violence of it all. My feelings too much for me to touch. The first I learned about it was from my dad. I must have been 8. We had one car at the time, an old beater with dense shovel pounded into the brown. We sat there in the parking lot of the half-price store one night, waiting for my mom to get off work. He small talked me a bit, but mostly listened to AM radio. And then he started bitching about how it was taking so long. He shoved cigarette after cigarette into his mouth. Somebody on the radio said something nice about Bill Clinton, and Dad said, that son of a bitch is evil. He turned the volume down. Then he told me how badly he wanted death, hungered for it, how he couldn't handle being a father. Just keep the car on and not open the garage. It's that easy. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. Won't feel a thing. He had tears in his eyes. Amelia had her kid in July, had a crib in her room, changing table. She was 17. Corky would steal her clothes and wear them to the gay bar. He was 15, looked older, had sideburns and charisma, and liked drugs just enough to suck the occasional dick when he was short on payment. Nobody ever really talked to Tommy. He kept to himself. We all thought he was weird. After he killed himself, we acted like he was our best friend. We told stories about him that were wild and made up, that he robbed a bank one time, lost his virginity at 10, that he had at least 8 boxes of Playboys under his bed, that by the time he was in middle school, he had made tens of thousands of dollars selling drugs to the neighborhood elite. We did this because we were too scared of the truth of his life. We were unable to fathom his tumorous thoughts. We didn't even know what ailed him, hadn't developed the vocabulary for it yet. As the weeks went on, everybody seemed to pin it down as just a bad choice and quickly forgot he was ever there at all. My dad started working more overtime. He would rather work 70 hours a week than have anything to do with being a father. He left most of that responsibility to my mom. When he was home, he'd almost exclusively sleep and be extremely irritable to anybody who blocked his view of the TV, even if his eyes were closed. Outside smelled like chlorine and heat. Subdivisions popped up all around us, choking the woods and ponds from view. Our memories left in sawdust, trees chopped and bulldozed to make way for a new concrete foundation poured out to build up a home. The homes themselves soon filled with people we despised. I spent a lot of time away from my people, wandering the neighborhood, trying to find the courage to leave my life, get away from it all, find a good street or a better home to graffiti my blood against. It was the first time in my life I understood my dad, understood Tommy, understood I wish things were different and never would be again. Another kid suicided on sleeping pills in August. I knew because his sister had big tits and my brother liked them. People called him Mouse, but Corky called him Delaney because that's what his name was. And he knew by that point what it felt like to be made to feel meaningless through subtraction, to feel nothing and everything at the same time, only it was too late to be proper. Mouse was dead. We still don't understand each other, Corky and I. Don't even acknowledge that we are both broken and by the same things. I feel more connected to the dead strangers in my life than the living. Maybe it's because I want to uncover the mystery that haunts me. The thing that leaves me hollow and reckless is my body, my brain, my soul. And that's also exactly why I keep it buried. The fear I'll actually find it. The fear that I'll suddenly understand that I'm alive and will someday have to face that fact. What I was really doing was working up to the final act. That summer, I couldn't tell you. I just know I got to a point where I was constantly thinking about my father's credo. Won't feel a thing. I started cutting my legs and burning my arms to come to some sort of understanding with myself, to give synthesis to what I felt inside. The understanding being this seemed like a good short-term solution. All right, thank you guys.
Troy, those were so fucking good. That last story, now listen, the first two were fantastic. The first one like, dealt with like the just vicious banality of like teenage life so good. It just so perfectly captures like just the like complete nastiness of like teens, right? But I want to talk about that last piece because that last piece was so fucking powerful. A lot of writing about suicide and about suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts, which is something I have experience with, romanticizes it or tries to find some profound meaning in suicide or tries to like rationalize and doesn't just grapple with like the sheer suddenness and ugliness of it in the way that this piece does, like the way that like, and the way, and also like the impact, the aftermath of suicide is often like romanticized or filled with deep and profound meaning in a lot of pieces where you really get at like the banality of the aftermath of suicide, the way people talk about someone who has killed themselves and the way it feels to be someone who has thought about it and is sitting there listening to someone talk about someone else who's killed themselves, you know, and like just the like crass rationalizations you hear people make and the way like, I don't know, you just capture all of that like pitch perfect here with real psychological clarity and depth. I think it's a really good fucking story, Troy.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
You also sold me on Troy. I have like Marigold and Selected Stories and Temporal, which, by the way, I know the review didn't come, but I did pay. I don't have Wichita Stories, and so the first story, I mean, didn't win me over. I was always interested, but it's kind of put the bug in my ear. So I'm gonna order that. It's still available, I assume, on Amazon.
Yeah, it should be.
Is it better to get it that way, or is there a better way to get it in terms of for you?
Probably like futuretense.com.
Yeah, directly from them.
Probably, yeah. I
Okay.
think that would be the best route.
I'll do that.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
just
Might not be the best route for you, but like
Oh,
you'd have to
well.
probably pay more for international shipping and shit.
Well, but no, I owe it to you, as we know. So I'll do that. But thanks.
I
for
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say the name of the last piece, Parcel Suicide, is so perfect. I love how that is intertwined with what the piece is about. Like this idea of someone that's kind of like lingering, like hasn't done it, but thinking about like William said, the suicidal ideation stuff is so perfectly laid out there. And there's a line in there where you say, "Oh, okay, I put it in the chat." It's basically like meaningless through subtraction, and that's so perfect because especially the thing you have in there about how they're talking about the kid who died, as like almost like a hero, or sort of in their earlier hero in their minds, or like kind of like making up all these grandiose shit about him because like they feel bad about like survivor's guilt. Basically, it's really really awesome. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Great fucking stories, Troy. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Last call for Blick. Is Blick with us? I don't think he is. Nope. In that case, Rudy has a piece and we've got plenty of time. So if somebody has something they'd like to read, just put a message in the chat because we do have time for a few more pieces. And then
I might read some of the some dispatches from Kiev, but I was actually going to run to the liquor store now because I grossly underestimated my capacity
Hell yeah.
for consumption. So I'm going to go to the wine rack. I actually gave the girl that works there, a PDF, like we exchanged emails, and she hasn't like responded, and she always works there. So I'm going to see her tonight. And so it's going to be kind of weird because it'll be like 10 days since I sent her the manuscript, but I'll navigate it and I'll be back. Anyways, I'll be back. And
Josh, I'll give you a choice. So you can read those pieces right now if you want to, or you can go to the liquor store, come back. When you get back,
I want drunk Josh.
There's a chance that the reading will have ended. It's all.
No, but you'll still be here, right? Everybody
we'll still be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You can totally read them now if you want. I mean.
No, I don't want it recorded.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm getting increasingly worried because people are dying and it's not funny, but also, anyways.
Some insights, right?
So I'll be back. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, we'll see you later then, Josh. Yeah. So the floor is Rudy's, and as I said, if anyone wants to read anything, just put it in the chat.
Oh, I just cucked Rudy again. I was rude to him the other week, and now I'm rude. Rudy, I love you. I'm sorry. Not cucked. I mean,
No problem, man. You'll get your liquor, dude. It's all good. All right, so I'm gonna read a piece here. Let me put it in the chat first of all. This piece is called Dokapon Kingdom. It's kind of long. I apologize. I might try to sing some parts of it. I apologize in advance. I'm not Kurt Cobain. Fading into me, I'm so ugly. That's okay, 'cause shit just sucks. Broken mirrors. Monday morning is every day for all I care, and I'm real scared but I'm also done imitating Kurt. What did I just say about broken mirrors? Lithium makes me feel like I'm in church suffocating again without any religious experience. So, in church, suffocating again, minus the hard on from girls in spring clothes, minus the promise of the spring yard zone after benediction, minus the bear, some other gay indie shit on my playlist because mood stabilizers make you want to pretend you have feelings. And honestly, I never listened to Kurt as a kid because I was pretending to be a female wizard with a wild looking staff instead of pretending to be a friend, pretending to look up to a worldly male feminist and understand his fucking inscrutable lyrics. It's fun to have no win conditions and to be honest. And here's a role playing scenario provided with the pretense of building empathy. You're a Gulf War explosives expert standing at a concert slurring the words to end bloom. When you leave the concert to get intoxicated at a strip club, hold one. Spend your hold to make the saddest rain ever. Nothing close to a real rain. Make a hard move, a soft move, a jack move. Choice stricken dance floor, DDR. Bang, she's pregnant. Bang, bang. Men from Aberdeen with something to prove lose their heads. God looking through the crosshairs. Speaking of 1990 something, most of the mirrors in and around Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building were busted. Gazing into me, fixation when the work is slow, always. Winter time and the living is hellish. Routine is a dish best served at all. Slow breathing, slow anger response. In the evening, it's time for waxing philosophical as waning boys from the favela burn banter into my monitor. Come to Brazil. Or, any of you men Brazilian? In a quaint little mine kitchen, transphobic Father Time sits down to a dinner of clocks. Main course is ours. Ours. Don't need no minute man, misdemeanor, minute man, war crime, minute man. Sloppy seconds for everyone. A faggot boy moding at a funeral. Their own. Double kill. Would Challenger Zillion have saved her? A huge male jigaboo with big fucking jowls, mockery of a man, let alone a woman, bull. Empath is a gender lock class, and I've got a temper as short as my nappy hair that I pull out to settle disputes. Arrayed black carpet on the table in a threatening shape that isn't a gun that's blue and cold. But usually this happens on another Saturday night. Ain't good for nothing, but my gender is basically a subroutine, a costly background process, needs to be suspended like pants on a skinhead don't, needs to be suspended like Baron Harkonnen, needs to be suspended like me if this is high school 1999, so I can get on to something fucking useful. Gender, an iterated blackface performance? Ha! Gender face, a slur a child might use, ha, and you better laugh at this garish fucking coon all dandied up, compares gender to a piece of hardware. What do you call a bunch of niggers standing around in a field? Antique farm equipment. Blackface software / hardware that's both useless and UC. Useless, UC, useless. You see? Useless, you see? Dice me up, Camille. Come on, Homer, put the boy down and do the routine. Australia, America, Australia, America, Australia, America. Hal Jolson. Blanking into me, too lazy to find a good route between Adderall Crash and trying for the 20th time to get through Snow Crash or any novel, really. I'm way off the rails, slipped into the ditch, tires spinning, and my demons are some phorophyliac polycule that can't stop fucking in the wreckage. Shout out to Cronenberg. Hate is a siren and a reverse morning call to prayer, as disturbed as that sounds. And boy, do I need Jesus or fuck, Nyarlathotep to take the wheel because I'm cloudy. Gloom blinders, here I go thinking I can use my rage productively, hold my beer, Boromir levels of arrogance, pierce me daddy, but I'm without ring, phone doesn't ring, turned off the ringer, bills, speeding away from problems, Broncos, and I wish it was all as knowable as Frida's plight when she sang, all that's left of the dreams I hold is a band of gold, as opposed to T-1 year to being the chorus of that tragically hip song. fucking a sore day, a red day, and the sun does whatever it feels like. Now red is ubic, red is wallpaper covering. Is it pizza sauce or blood? Who gives a shit? A question I ask when people discuss strategies for surviving the 24-hour news cycle. Tuning out words, escape to star, wild card for emphasis because I already used asterisk, mutual assured destruction, bubble universes exploding and reconstituting themselves with the sassy slime of BuzzFeed self-care advice. And I can't hear anything but Tolkien hearing V2 rockets and gently deluding himself with, at least I get to fuck Luthien. At least I get to raw dog my elf maid. It's dark and hell is hot. Hell is other people, so you might say people are hot. And so we've entered the jerk off hour. Yo, they throw in genetics at me, genes and pornography, or as I like to call it, Chinese YouTube videos of women digging survival shelters. A fetish of mine. Build home with digging only. Jeans, sweatpants. As if I'm buying what nature is selling. Like I didn't go through a period where I asked my doctor to castrate me. Like my overall case file isn't enough to get the ghosts of the entire Canadian Eugenics Board fire hose wet, dripping pearly white ectoplasm, Slimer, constantly rerouting invasive thoughts by telling them to shut up, or Rudy doesn't live here anymore, or wrong number, or you're gay. Dokapon is a video game called the Friendship Destroying Game by the 4 weebs who play it. And there are only 4 at any given time because it brings people together in the sense that things like domestic violence, a particularly grim urban siege, or ethnic cleansing bring people together. Picture parents with whirling fists, Syrian trigger men, and hate radio DJs. Picture them as the nebulous server processes peeking out from behind the doors of Warcraft's Scarlet Monastery, dividing people who enter into parties, say parties of 4. Kramer slide, an instance, Jerry. 4 kids under a bed with cowardly army men standing guard, jumping with each impact. 4 shell-shocked motherfuckers in Damascus garden, disheveled by bare hands because ain't no grave. 4 cockroaches in an inn where the innkeeper is Don Cheadle, and now I'm crossing Warcraft with real life, crossing my cell. Just cross me out. Dokapon is a Japanese word that, for this trash poem anyway, means everybody loving company, hating the moment, hating the closeness of company, loving the anticipation for when everything breaks back out into open world. But for now, and this whole damn metaphor is reaching the sky, maybe cursing Assad's name, shaking a fist, straining, definitely. For now, it's all one great grave, Antietam, all down the same well, Boonesboro, all to selfishly delay a dark night of the soul that's gonna feel like Darkling for fuck tons of my puzzle piece shaped personal demons coming from behind. Inevitable because last place is a numerical certainty, not and a personal insult. Math echoes like Khan. In my experience, the essence of Dokkan Kingdom, which might as well be the kingdom of heaven, where no one reaches it but through me, to hell with the PlayStation 2 version, is a collective brutalization in the form of an RPG with board game elements. Intrusive thoughts erode it, giving up their seats to intrusive actions. Intrusive words pierce my over-frail soul, playing pretend embered host in a basement shrine of hollow ones. Intrusive parents sometimes, and goddamn, I wish they were here in some way other than in spirit, but invaded by dark spirit, goddamn, Denzel was good in Man on Fire. Thoughts are hostile, but seen. Invisible stalkers splashed with black paint. In the end, there's usually a controller that takes flight, fleeing the victim of a low poly lynching. The day after is a trudge through a wintry mix of social fallout, a mind maze where even the Minotaur is like, you fucking okay, dude? Global assault is nothing compared with the local monsters that assail when alone. Alone, my thoughts are a game of scatological telephone. My thoughts are a game of scatological telephone. My thoughts are again on cats in logical telegrams. Mice tots are aging, arrogant, and lodging on Instagram. My thoughts are a solo, emergent, often radiant playground, granted a developing world playground or a world developing playground. Either way, landmines. Rest in peace, Magawa. Alone, my thoughts are Skyrim or Breath of the Wild if sorrows are moving in an easterly direction. But I'll never enjoy Skyrim or Breath of the Wild like I do Dokapon Kingdom. And that's it.
Oh my fucking god! Jesus, that was amazing.
No, Eris, go on. No,
Okay, so that was the most beautiful moment I've ever had listening to poetry in my whole life. I shed a tear when you broke out into Nirvana, and like this is everything I love about your writing, Rudy. This is like all the stuff that only you do because only you are Rudy. Like I was writing a thing, like RPGs and intrusive thoughts, and like who else can go so perfectly and have such perfect fucking flow with like minotaurs to cats to like everything that you just listed, and that was just this is why you're one of my favorite poets ever.
Thank you, Eris. I really appreciate it. That's yeah.
no, man, that was fucking incredible. I mean, I think this is probably like your most like deeply and openly personal piece that you've read. And it works. It works so good. And it works like first of all, it works as a poem, right? It works as a fucking poem. It's really heartfelt and it's really painful throughout, but it's also very funny throughout. Like the Minotaur line, the Minotaur, you fucking okay, dude line fucking slew me. But like this also works as almost like an incredible God damn it, as an incredible like coming together of all things Rudy, right? Because like as someone who's known you for 30 years and all of your different like personal obsessions are present in this poem, and they're present effortlessly, and they're present in a way that feels not just highly personal, but like really emotionally poignant. And once again, really fucking funny. And of course, there's a constant wordplay throughout, and the lines are bouncing off each other like ping pong balls and going in unexpected directions. But it's just really, really fucking good, man. This is like, if you ever did like a collection of your poems again, this would be like either the final poem or the penultimate poem, right? Because this is what pulls all those different threads together in a really vivid and powerful way. And that's it. I'm done.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. I just a little background. I'm not gonna take a lot of time, but I wrote it after kind of like a breakdown I had, and I realized some things, and just wanted to put it into words, basically. And I don't know, really. I know that's fucking stupid and cliched, but it's just like basically like the idea of being alone with your thoughts. That's what it crystallized around, I guess.
The sense of being manic really did flow through for me because I only, once being observed by psychiatrists, realized that being in a sing-song state is technically deemed manic. So
Yeah.
that really like came through for me.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying. That and like the idea of like I don't get many. I don't know if I'm technically manic. I'm not sure what my. I think that it's like major depressive disorder or something that they call it, but they say bipolar also. And I know like I don't get many highs, but when I do, it's like that kind of high, that what you're talking about, like the idea of like sing songs. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I never really heard a psychiatrist put it that way. They're that good of a way. But yeah, no, I just wanted to basically make light the things that were going through my head and stuff.
Well, it was fantastic, Rudy.
But
Are we going
thanks.
to publish this? Is this going up on Misery Tourism? Where is this going?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
My wall.
We publish this.
Sorry.
I don't want you to let anyone else have this. This is ours. We need to publish this. No, thank you, Rudy. Scott and Adam, I think, mentioned that they'd like to read. So we'll let I don't think I missed anyone. If I missed you, say so in the chat. But so we'll let Scott can go first and then Adam after that.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Loud and clear, Scott.
Awesome. Y'all are mean. You didn't let me know I shouldn't go after Rudy because that shit fucking killed. And now I'm going to present you with some hot trash. So look forward to that. The piece I'm going to read is from a novel called Awful People, a Ghost Story. Just decided like 3 seconds ago to read this. Haven't looked at it in probably 7 months. Section is called Excerpted from Interpersonal Interrogation and Statement Aggregation of one Michael Amadeus Green on the date of redacted 2019. Michael Amadeus Green. I mean, like, I knew Molly way back in the day, before all the bullshit. And she was just like this party girl, crazy personality, hypersexual. But like, you know, she wasn't trying to fuck around on Frank, you know? Unknown interrogator. Was there any indication that she was unstable at all? Anything about her that seemed amiss then? You mean, did we know what was coming? No, not exactly. I mean, was there any indication that she was capable of doing something like what happened? Not exactly what happened. Ah, I gotcha. Did she show any signs that she could do a violent thing, like if required to? Did she seem capable or whatever? That sort of thing. Yeah, what primarily interests us is how deep she was in, how far she would go to protect her interests, and how the stress of her lifestyle seemed to manifest itself leading up to the incident in question. Look, Molly once told me she had an ongoing sexual relationship with one of her father's friends while she was still in high school, but she presented it as if it were some kind of mutual thing, a relationship, not that he was taking advantage of her. Another time, she told me she jerked 2 boys off at once while sitting on a couch in between them, which she called going skiing, because she had a cock in each hand like ski poles. Get it? I don't know why I'm mentioning this now. Because it speaks to the way she was, the hypersexual personality type she adopts when talking to male friends. Are you attempting to address what you perceived was her mindset at the time? Yeah, that. She also told me Frank didn't suck her titties the way she liked. He was too timid with them or something. We were alone in the apartment when she told me that. I think she wanted me to make a move or something. Say something foul so she could get a rush. But I don't think she would actually let me fuck her, you know? She got off on being close, showing power in that way, exerting her control. Does that sound right? Michael Amadeus Green. Yeah, kinda, I guess. At parties, we'd all chip in for cocaine, but Molly had to be the one to dole it out, inviting people to her room in groups of 3 to take their lines. She had to be the one to control the even distribution of the drug to ensure that A, it lasted, but B, everyone got their fair share. Of course, she was doing lines and bumps and nummies with all the groups, so essentially she got 3 to 4 times as much as anyone else. No one minded though. Unknown interrogator. How frequently did Frank and Molly have these parties? How often was there cocaine use? I mean, like, not that often. Full-fledged parties with coke and dancing until all hours, that is. There were small gatherings. There were small gatherings. Party, almost every night. And Christmas was fucking nuts. You know, Molly loved to wear thongs back then, and low-rise jeans. She liked to wear black thongs that showed off over her jeans. She even wore a black thong underneath her white wedding dress, and it showed through the whole day. I think she likes the black thongs because she had a larger-than-life ass. She had small tits, but her ass was really something. I think she thought if she wore the visible thongs, people, men and women, would focus on her ass and not on her face or tits. Not that she had a displeasing face. She didn't. Just that I think she thought her ass was her best feature. And when the incident occurred, right, Christmas '09. It was cold and snowing, and everyone had tracked some slush onto the kitchen floor where we all took off our shoes and boots. Molly and Frank cleaned out her room in the basement for overflow, and there was a dartboard down there. The same dartboard mentioned in the report? Yeah, but there was another one upstairs, in the boys' room. That's not mentioned anywhere. No, it's not. But it was there, and I can tell you for certain which dartboard was the dartboard. Like, it all happened, and then the cops asked everyone what had happened, and everyone was pretty consistent about a dartboard, but no one bothered to mention that there were actually 2 dartboards. I see. Go on. It was hot in the apartment, and Molly was wearing that super clingy green dress that went down to her ankles that she sometimes wore, but it was also like a tank top on top, the kind with the super skinny straps. I remember her nipples were poking out because she wasn't wearing a bra. I caught her tweaking them, her nipples, at one point after she did a line, and then she just smiled at me. Weird. Is this relevant? I don't know what's relevant anymore. Okay, go on. Well, the party was in full swing, and it had to be like 2 or maybe 3 in the morning. My wife. I was married. Did I mention her before? My wife, Helen. That was one of the reasons it was weird Molly was always being inappropriate with me. Her and my wife, Helen, were close, real close. Like they were always together. They worked at the same restaurant, the Antiquated. And Helen was always over at Molly's, like in between parties and get-togethers. Helen and Molly would just be hanging out, smoking weed, drinking, watching Criminal Minds, shit like that. So that's also why I would never take Molly's bait. There was the thing where I didn't think she actually wanted to fuck me anyway, just got off on seeing men's reactions, how they'd stiffen around her, you know? And then there was the thought that Molly was just trying to trap me, get me to say something like, well, hell, if Frank won't suck those tits, then fuck you proper, then maybe I will. Or something equally gross, and then go off and tell Helen that I tried to fuck her. Because, and you know, you really should know this about Molly, she is a consistent shit starter, fucking professional pot stirrer, and shit talker. This seems tangential. Oh, it is. What's the relevance to Christmas '09? It illuminates her mindset, speaks to character, and gives insight on how she liked to operate. Proceed. But no, if this goes further off the rails, I'll have to bring you back to the topic at hand, what we brought you here to talk about. If I think Molly has been rehabilitated? Yes and no. Really, we just want you to remember what you can from the night. We want to collect all the recollections of the aggrieved. To try to keep her here. That's irrelevant. Please, continue. Like I said, Molly couldn't be trusted, which was why when she would start talking to me about her sexual exploits or history, or she would tweak her nipples at me, or bend over and expose her thong, or whatever, I couldn't take the bait, because next thing I know, wait, come to think of it, she wouldn't even tell Helen. That wasn't her style. She'd like tell Arthur or Kim or Jose or Jed, or like maybe she'd get drunk and just let it slip casual like when me and Helen weren't even there, but the rest of the group was. Yeah, that's what she'd do. And then they'd all spend the night running me down before deciding that Helen just had to know. And Molly would make it seem like she didn't mean for that to happen, that she was sure I was an okay guy, but she just had to tell someone because it was eating at her. Then they'd call Helen, and Molly would confess, and I'd be fucked. And she would look like the good guy. That's how she operated. Also, and I know this for sure, she would shit talk anyone who wasn't currently in the room, like in the friend group. If you weren't in the room at the moment, at the apartment, I mean, she'd gossip and backstab you. It's just how she was. Still is, maybe. I don't even know anymore. She was catty and manipulative. Yeah, that's one way to put it, but I really think that was just a means to an end. Unknown interrogator, which was Michael Amadeus Green. She fed off the discord and chaos that pitting people against each other inevitably caused. It was a way for her to assert some control over a life that I think was rapidly getting away from her. She was watching her friends blossom after college, some in grad school, others starting real careers, and she could talk all that shit about loving the way she lived, the choices she made and all that, but it was hard to know that certain things from way back made you the way you were, and that behavior you exhibit, your whole personality really, is just a manifestation of having had real, intense, childhood-ending trauma. Molly wanted control. Sorry. That's what I think Christmas '09 was about. So the dartboard, the one in the basement, that is. Yeah, Frank was downstairs in the basement with Arthur, and Molly was upstairs tweaking her nipples and dancing in the living room to Rusted Root, or something like that. I was going in between all the rooms because I was a floater at parties back then. I like to just kind of wander around, pick up snippets here and there, jumping into conversations when I felt I could contribute, and then ducking out again. Helen was on the 3 Seasons porch smoking and cooling down. Now you have to understand, while the events of the night are sort of tattooed on my brain, I can't really be sure what is genuine memory and what has just become part of my story, because over the last decade, I've heard everyone's story and internalized their narratives. I understand the complex natures of memory. how it can become fused with other recollections there. We're just trying to get the gist, a synopsis of the event. God, has it been 10 years already? It's fucking weird how time just moves on and everyone goes on to do what they do, and Molly just has been in stasis. At least in my mind, just in a holding pattern. She's waiting, I suppose. She's been in treatment, and they say she's made incredible progress. Like I said, with Molly, no one knows. Please continue. I remember going down to the basement and walking through the living room because there was no one there I wanted to talk to. Molly was dancing in that way girls sometimes do, where they hold the hem of their dresses in their hands and sort of pull it up around their knees and thighs. And sometimes you can get a small, fleeting glimpse of underwear. I remember pausing and looking for a moment, and she seemed to see me, and she pulled her dress a little higher. It was Dave Matthews. That's what the fuck we were listening to. Tripping fucking Billies. Anyway, I remember she was wearing a black lacy thong. She flashed it at me, and I shook my head and went downstairs. Then what? Frank and Arthur were drinking and not really playing darts, but more like having a heart-to-heart while throwing darts at the board. I got the impression they were into some heavy topic because they kind of clammed up when I came down, and then started talking about something trivial. I don't really remember. But what I want to say, what they were talking about before I came down, was that Arthur was going to do what Arthur was going to do when his fiance came back from training at corporate in Des Moines. If he was going to tell her about the cupcake on the side or not. Turns out, as we know now, that Arthur had more than one cupcake on the side. So I was in the basement when it happened, the actual thing. I was right there, front row center. What was that like? Any after effects? Fucking terrible is what that was like. And yeah, I had nightmares for like 3 years. Even now, I just get an eerie sense of disquiet that I can't place. And then I remember, and it's all just back like it was then. All fresh in my mind, all new, like it's being placed there in real time and it is happening again. And it takes months for the aftershocks or even the recollection to recede. And I can't forget all about it, and I can forget all about it again. But I never really all the way forgot. Like it's an omnipresence in my history. But other than that, I'm pretty much fine. So what happened, to the best of your recollection? I mean, Molly came down, like almost right on my heels, and she looked crazed, eyes wide. This is where fused memory comes in, because I would swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw her dose like a half sheet of acid right before the party started. But I can't remember what room that was in, or when exactly I saw her do that, or if just Helen or Baker or Jed or one of the other randos told me that. You know, the half sheet is pretty consistent all across the recollections. Anyway, she goes, "What are you guys talking about?" and gives Arthur this sideways glance. Then what? Then nothing really. Nothing that would set her off. She didn't even wait for someone to answer her. She just walked calmly to the dartboard and grabbed a dart. They were the old type ones, heavy and metal. And then she stabbed Frank right in the fucking neck. He could have lived if she didn't get him right in the vein there, the jugular. Anyway, fountain of blood. Then all hell breaks loose, and she starts screaming, "The shed, the shed, the shed." And she was stabbing him over and over in the face and neck with the dart. It was fucking wild. Thank you. That'll be all.
Scott, this is excellent. So anyone who's like gone to these things before knows that I'm a huge fan of unreliable narrators, right? And I'm a huge fan of stories about like the unreliability of memory as well. And this is such, like, it's funny, right? It's in parts like hilariously funny, but this is such a sharp, like, psychological profile of a psychopath, right? Like, you get all these little glimpses of the way she lives her life, and you can see the vacancy there, right? You can see what's missing without the narrator ever saying what's missing, you know? And the way that you unfurl this, and the way that you like, you fixate on exactly the details, not the details like that, like a psychoanalyst or psychologist would fixate on, but the details that just some normal guy who wandered into the psychopath's life would fixate on, right? And it works. It works perfectly. It works vividly. It's very funny, and it's very nasty. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Adam is next.
Thanks, William. Did you get the link of
I
the,
did, and I'll put it in the chat now.
okay. I just have 3 short poems. The first one is called Larson's Trip to Cleveland, and it's about Ray Robinson. June 11th, Larson is half naked, robed though open fronting, his balls in a window, so to speak, flaccidly his penis hangs smallly. He is in a rented station wagon. He is listening to his Bradbury tapes. Barton on Mars Alone. Barton, this is Barton. It so haunts him as he sucks on a gin roadie. The wagon smells like gunpowder, mostly because Larson shot rounds from his 38 into the passing woods. His left ear rings preggers. Larson picks up a hiker, a young sexual queen, mostly attempting to get out of Allentown for Chicago. He is a, quote, male stripper. Larson is wiser than that. They make it the first night in a flaky yins dive. Larson is a wide receiver. The cord from the television was cut off and left marks like a necklace. They only had cocaine. Eggs and coffee and a percentage tip. Larson riding shotgun now that they are lovers forever out of North Pitt. Larson puts on Bradbury. The queen steers left. Larson nods into foam. The queen drives on for 20 and has fallen between cracks. Radically off course, they are 2 lost cunts, though Larson is asleep. Of a sudden, screaming, does the queen in a pitch. Larson heartens, says what? The queen is trembling and scanning the ditch. Out pulls Larson of his 38. The queen shrieks and claims to have seen a man with no face, who was most likely the ghost of Charlie. This one's called For Rudolph. Betimes he ain't no culture vulture, Larson that is. He is bleeding out on lace curtains after his last visitation to the flesh pot, where he did engage himself to gum sucking and hanging. He is not all bad. He did support civil unions during all the Bush dynasty. He has one foot in the graveyard and the other in a 7-Eleven where he feigns madness so as to get free beef jerky. Outside he twists pussy. Ratherish, Larson heads to Pete's, who is swindling Ubers with Facefuck. It's an old Brooklyn routine. Facefuck's fingers are sticky with sour apple Jolly Ranchers and remnants of canine groping. He gets a kick out of the lipstick. Facefuck and Pete and Larson go down to Hudson Yards and harass tourists. Larson slips his clutch with a stranger. They beat it to a motel. Larson is knocked out from behind and wakes up in hospital. He cognizes the nurse. She is snarky and ill-tempered. She draws blood and chokes out Larson. With this, Larson is thrilled. So she hammers his testicles and says, that does it. Larson sees stars and begs for morphine, which is accidentally denied. This last one's called Rape Genius Gets Whistled At. Rape Genius is jet-lagged from his trip to West Palm, whereat he mostly criminalized. He ate corn dogs and funnel cakes and drank copious amounts of vodka Red Bulls. He went clubbing and molesting. The police are looking for a man fitting of his descriptions. He is decaying. Near the baggage claim, a man whistles him over. The man says he looks familiar. What's your name? Rape Genius. Get the fuck out of here. RG gets his neon luggage and Ubers it to hell, his apartment. It is in the gasoline buggy that he makes up his mind. He is framed within his dreaded walls, home. He hates being alone. He flips through a book. It is 101 Thai dishes you need to cook before you die. He calls a hotline, carves into his arm, and swallows a bottle of Tylenol. That's it.
Holy shit. These are so good, Adam. And they're good in exactly the way that all of your Larsons are good. I'm tongue-tied tonight. In the way that all of your Larson poems are good. They're funny. They're full of like completely creative and inventive wordplay. I love your use of criminalizes here as, and they're like, also though, like full of like this real authentic kind of felt pathos. Like that Ghost of Charlie line at the end is so like freighted with meaning and significance, even though we have no fucking clue, right? We have no clue what that significance is, but we immediately understand that there's an entire story there in this person's life, right? And that it's probably just as deep and dark as the shit that Larson gets into. I don't know, it's another set of fantastic poems. Are these going in the collection with the other Larson poems?
No, I've started a new one, so I'm moving on from that. But Yeah, so they're not, but
Adam, when you read your poetry, I always think of like I just want to party with Adam Johnson.
well,
Like I don't know.
let's party. And thanks for letting me read, William. Appreciate it.
Every Friday night we do, right?
Yeah, right.
we
right.
partying now.
Yeah.
But no, I love the Rape Genius. I love that we got to see more of Rape Genius. But the other thing is, these stories have like the aesthetic in my mind anyway of like Popeye, like the old Popeye cartoons. That's what I think of. That's how I draw these characters in my head. Is like old Popeye aesthetic, like Olive Oyl and fucking like, you know, Popeye and Brutus and that shit. I don't know why, but that's just I don't know why I said that, but I just want to let you know.
Yeah,
That's
that's interesting.
incredible,
Yeah.
Rudy, because I had the same
Right.
in my mind, and I didn't even realize it, right?
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adam. I think maybe it's like that sense of like this oddly crass kind of like, you know, silent slapstick, like a little bit of Buster Keaton in there. I think maybe that's where like some of the cartoons.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
definitely Buster Keaton is real.
Well, yeah, thank you, Adam. And I think we have Brandon. Brandon has a piece and Daphne has a poem, and I think we'll call it after that. Unless if someone had asked to read before and they want to, and I missed them, just let me know. But I think otherwise we'll go Brandon and then we'll go Daphne and we'll end the reading at that point.
All right. Sorry if I sound a little nasally. We had a bit of a thaw, so allergies are starting to flare up here. I'm going to be reading a continuation of what I did last time I read it open mic, so hopefully you guys like it. Every morning when I wake, I immediately wish that I hadn't. This is not some errant death urge. This is not some suicidal drive. It is merely an acknowledgement of knowing that another day has begun that I never consented to. Suicide isn't the way out. It's just an overly dramatic time out that only puts yourself in stasis until the next time you were meant to leave, trapped in the same physical and emotional pain that drove you to call for your reprieve. But it is no reprieve at all. My displeasure with awakening each day is because it provides nothing but false hope. I never agreed to return here. I never agreed to be born again. My conception was not my idea. Oftentimes I remind myself of how close I came to avoiding this trip around the sun, of how I was regarded as a 50-50 chance of being someone with a normal life in the first place. I won that coin flip, but the prize was a normal life, and I think I'd have preferred hitting that $2 scratch-off prize pool. I won the normal life, but it has been a boring one, unlike any of the others that I at least had to contend with the reality of the world. Modern comforts are no consolation to a soul that remembers the truth. I've wanted the peace of the afterlife for centuries, maybe longer, but I keep coming back to this. I don't know why. It's certainly not by choice. This world has become the perfect allegory for the hometown you leave behind. It only gets worse every time you come back to visit. Things change, people change. The natural wonders slowly vanish and the man-made ones decay. At least if I'd have lost the coin flip, this would have been a short trip home. I am the curse of my own self-destructive impulse. The whiskey-soaked reborn bastard child of a soul that doesn't want to continue on living in a mind that isn't interested in dying. Why would I wish for death? As I look back on the memories of all the times I've walked these roads before, I look back at the thousands of deaths that have come before me and the few that have eluded me thus far. No matter the means, it was always my own actions that brought me low. Perhaps the answer lies therein. I've no desire to do this all again. If what has been tried has failed, and there's no sense in trying that again. Clearly, there is no sense in bringing about my own destruction anymore. Dying of my own intent has gotten me nowhere, with nothing to show for it but the understanding of pain. The bite of the blade, the oppression of suffocation. the sharp sear before nothingness of being burnt alive. These things have taught me much, but left me with no desire to see the rest. I have died the romantic deaths of heroes and villains of old. I want a new death, one that is not self-created. I want a death that inspires the soul. I want a death that falls silent and softly upon deaf ears as I fade into memory, or better yet, into nothingness. I want a death that is insignificant and peaceful. I want a death that will not be remembered. I want a death that will not see me born again. I want a death not brought on destructive tendencies, not by the provocation of others, not by some random act of divine indifference. The only thing that will set me natural death, but does such a thing still exist? And that's it.
You know, Unity said this in the chat, but I wanna reiterate it. You know the guy who's famous for doing all the movie trailers and shit? He's dead. He died like a few years ago. So there's an opening there. There's an opening for someone to make their career in that field. And man, if you don't seize that opportunity, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. But no, as usual, your delivery there was fucking phenomenal, full of intensity, full of emotion. And this piece goes so well with the other pieces. Lots of suicidal ideation tonight. I don't know. Maybe that's just Misery Loves Company. I don't know. But thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Brandon, say Jerry Bruckheimer. Say Jerry Bruckheimer.
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Fuck yeah.
Brandon,
I-
I know I'm gonna be in like rehab enough times. Someone will eventually say your voice is like their higher power. Anyway, sorry for
See,
interrupting.
that's
you,
funny
Rudy.
because in grade school, I was actually the narrator in every school play.
Oh man.
And
yeah.
I went to
Yeah.
a Catholic school, so the narrator was God.
Oh shit! Oh my god! So you've already been God. Awesome. I knew you sounded kind of Old Testamently. Fuck
Man.
yeah.
Man, Morgan
Like-
Freeman, look out, right? Okay, but no, I really like that piece, especially the idea of a new death, like someone who just keeps cycling through this ideation and cycling through, but you want something peaceful, you want a peaceful way to to relieve the shit, basically. Oh man, that's so good. And there was another line in there that I saw that was like basically fuck, I put it in the chat, but no, that was a really awesome fucking piece, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, man. So
And just for Adam here,
okay.
Bruce, I am God.
Yeah.
Thank you, boy. So Daphne's up next.
Hey everyone, this is my first one of these. Thank you so much. This has been
thanks
so
for coming.
wonderful. And thanks to Colton for inviting me. So here's my poems called Devotion, and it's for Rod Serling. Even now, after what you did with the pills, your plan to disappear so easy, like pulling a ribbon from around your throat, untying the black bow between darkest hour and simple violence. I'm not done. I dream on. The wedding dove stirs my head silly with blessings. Dream forgets its bruises. Between us, two theaters glow. Twin reels unspool two truths. What happened when you lost your mind? Twin reels, double fantasy. Me in your bed, running my fingernail up and down your spine as if it were mine, that earthly delusion of owning what we desire. And you shivering and turning back to kiss me. Or is it you faced away, eyes, green planets spun toward a secret star inside you, second sun, burning the good air in your mind's sky, memory garbled in heat shimmer, unreal city, He gets confused sometimes, your sister told me. A parallel universe where I left you, fifth dimension where you left you. Is imagination your sickness? Belief makes the danger real. 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 Thank you. That's it.
That was beautiful, Daphne. First of all, I'm a big Twilight Zone fan. I grew up watching the Sci-Fi Network marathons, right? They would have every Thanksgiving or whatever. But this piece, this poem, so beautifully like captures the kind of psychological horror of like an episode of the Twilight Zone and turns it into like such a beautiful, intimate, like look at like the small personal psychological horrors of our life, right? Like the horror of a lost relationship, the horror of losing ourselves, you know, that kind of thing. This does that so vividly and so beautifully. I think it's a wonderful piece, Daphne.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I really liked the repetition at the end and how like William mentioned like the Twilight Zone shit. Like I'm fucking really into that kind of science fiction, like that older, like weird, like because it's personal horror shit. But I have a question. Do you have an @ that you want me to add on Twitter? For the thread here.
I don't have a Twitter actually.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was just checking.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Don't change. You're good. It's
Yeah,
good. It's
yeah.
good. Like bless you. You have no
Welcome
idea.
to the dark side. It's fun.
Thank
Oh,
you. It's an unpublished piece, so y'all might be seeing it.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That makes it even more special. Fuck yeah.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daphne. So
I'm so glad you read. You couldn't have had like perfect lipstick on and I had a like glass of wine and like not read a poem. Like that's awesome. Fuck yeah.
I did notice the lipstick. Like if I don't apply lipstick. I mean,
When did you get back from the liquor store?
no, I tried once. It was like yours was very. It was very like yeah, exactly. I don't know how you do it. But no, I was late. I'm sorry. I missed apparently a very good poem. I got into a fight at the corner store because they wouldn't give me the tipped cigars. So the problem was I walked in and I'm a friend to the downtrodden. So the homeless guy on my strip knows me very well. So I walked into this place and the fucking bum starts talking to me, which if you're trying to get, respect at the counter later on, it's not that great.
Josh, if you're going to incriminate yourself, just wait 5 minutes and we'll end the.
Oh, we're still recording. I thought it was the party. No, but anyways, okay, you know what? I'll stop. But the thing was that they carded me. They carded me. They carded me, and I said, and there's a lineup now, and I'm like, I have gray. The side is gray. I'm not fucking 18.
Josh, you're the only human being alive who would be insulted by being carded.
Well, no, I wanted my tipped cigars. No, this is not fair to Daphne because you know what? I'm gonna watch the recording.
Josh, we'll talk later. And we'll
yeah. Just I know, tone it down. I know. Sorry.
Okay. But you're 30. You're 34, 35, right?
35 on April 11th.
Josh, as a 35-year-old guy, anytime you're carded, you should thank them. You should fucking thank them, Josh. You should be like, oh my God, thank you. I can still be confused for 18, you know?
One would think. Well, I still behave like 18, I guess. That might be the issue.
I'm 16, you're fine.
I just came in, complimented someone's lipstick, and then just went on a tire. So I'm sorry. You know what? I'm gonna listen to her
Gosh,
poem.
that's normal behavior. That's normal behavior.
I'll listen to the poem later and think about it. And if I have something nice to say, I shouldn't slide into anyone's DM. So I'll just leave the thoughts with myself, and we'll all be good. So I'm gonna just tune out now
Thank
until
you, Josh. So Grapes said she had a couple more poems to read, and then we're closing down shop for real. So
Oh
great.
wait, not the Ukraine. I can't do the Ukrainian.
Do you want to do them on the record?
Yes.
Okay, then Grapes can read her couple of poems. You'll read your Ukraine pieces on the record, and then we will shut down for the night. Well, we'll leave it open for people to talk, but we'll close the recording. Okay. Grapes? Or grape?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Okay, so I have a couple of poems here. It's actually 5, but they're very short. So first one is titled Late February Snow. I walk alone through the snow. My hand is held by no one. On my shoulder rests no arm around me. I walk alone through the snow, and I am fine this way. I am fine this way walking alone through the snow. It is cold when my jacket keeps me warm. That and my scarf and hat. The snow falls calm, fluttering down this way, then that. The snow falls soft. And then we have the second poem, which is called I Feel Like a Nickel. I feel like a nickel, not a penny or a dollar, but a nickel, spent, tossed about, forgotten, rendered less than useful yet, but a minute denomination, small like so many other nickels, less valuable than the other coins, only more valuable than one coin. I'm hard, I cannot be bent. I have a face that mixes with lint. I'm a 5-cent coin, I have no feelings. I'm flat, I'm a nickel. If I'm your green, you smoke me, I'm a sack. I feel like a nickel, your change, valued less, but not the least. I matter, but I don't. How could I when dollars are the fashion, the Sacagaweas and quarters are so much more? I'm made like so many others, all valued less, not the least. I am but a nickel, useless, taking up space. And then I have a third poem here titled And I Couldn't. Let me just preface this by saying it was written right before a rape and then finished right after a rape. So it's titled And I Couldn't. Find my baby blue lighter, of which I had placed on my backside in my shorts. Now in the backseat, no more, I have it, my lighter. And here we have a fourth poem titled With Black Fingernails and Toenails. I go on almost getting to a point about something. Instead, there's some nothing here and here. And then we have a fifth poem. She Thought of Glenn Baxter is the title. With no top on, she thought of Glenn Baxter, lounging without a shirt or bra on. She flipped through his pages in the years of struggle. She wanted to make her a mark or another about his work and stuff, but she didn't. Topless, she thought of Glenn Baxter.
Thank you. Those were really, really fucking powerful pieces. I think I said this exact same thing about your poetry last week, but I am really in awe of how much you can do with so few words, right? Like the concision, the conciseness of your writing and how much emotion you pack into very short, very controlled little poems. Like it's remarkably powerful. These are great, great poems. And thank you for sharing that. I almost said grapes.
Oh, I agree. Like it's
Appreciate
like
it.
like your poetry is like a really great cigarette. Like perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, what William had said about my stuff about taking a mundane item, which is what I'm interested in, I think you did with currency there, and it's what's been said about some writers I admire. I think it was really well done there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Josh, this is it. We're ending the night. Open mic is closed at this point. You're the last one up, Josh.
Yeah, it seems in light of the content that precedes me, maybe insensitive, but you know what? It's insensitive anyway. So I just wanted to read.
The mug is classy. You could get away with anything.
It's well, thank you. I actually did. it on
Josh
purpose.
Durbin, what are you if not insensitive? Come on now.
So I wanted to read. My intention was each week I challenged myself to try and read 3 poems about Ukraine. Each week here, I only had 2. So I'm going to read for context of the next 2, which kind of build on it. The one I read last week and then 2 new ones. And so the one from last week, I'll start with. And it's day 8 of the Russo-Ukrainian war. And it's, after seeing photos of the refugees, I started searching Ukrainian on Pornhub. And the next one is, whose side are you on? Ukrainian refugees or Russian stewardesses? You can only pick one. And March 9th, 2022. The final one, actually, there are 2. The bombing of a children's hospital. I guess if you're going to break a ceasefire, you might as well go all out, but still. March 9th, 2022. I'm sorry. And then, yeah, no, I'll end it there.
Josh, you probably Josh, you probably saw that you knocked me out of the fucking chair with that last one. Josh, let me be clear here. There are no conditions under which you could have read those poems where they would not have been sensitive. Who are you hoping to follow?
It's just, you know, yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
No, Josh, as usual, Josh, I'm really enjoying these fucking Ukrainian poems. I am, because they are some of the nastiest work, I think, that's been shared on here. And but they're incisive, right? They get all the, it's like, oh my God, Josh. So you can probably guess this, but I like to watch like soapy British period dramas like Downton Abbey and stuff. There's always like, you know, the like one elderly British lady who has like cutting remarks and in like 2 lines to like knock your head off, right? And these poems are like that. It's like 2 lines and you're gone, you're dead. And I appreciate that, Josh. I appreciate that a lot. Anyway, thank you so much, Josh. We're done. We're done. I'm gonna, as usual, I'm going. Oh, sorry. I think Rudy had something to say.
I just wanted to say you can only choose one line from the Ukrainian, the stewardesses versus the orphans, was it? Or
There are orphans among the refugees, I'm sure.
the refugees, yeah. But I love that line because it's so like they talk about conciseness. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about conciseness tonight, and Grapes obviously has the conciseness, and you have that too. But I like how that reduces the situation to the level that a lot of Westerners see it. Like and I don't know, I don't really know any other way to put it, but it's very good.
Thanks a lot, because I'm not trying to make this sound more intellectual than it is, but I was posting about it with my girlfriend because she's been making things for Instagram, so I post these on Instagram as they come, and she's doing the layout, and I'm like, does it seem? And it's like there is more thought, but like it's a war that's televised with like Taco Bell ads before you watch the clips. So you want me to behave with like these fucking, you know, outmoded moral parameters, like
the reverence and that kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's like really, you know, and yet I guess so, because people are expecting. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for appreciating that and picking up on that.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, fantastic. So that's it. I'm gonna leave, as usual. I'm gonna leave the Zoom call open for a little bit if people want to talk and hang out. But that was Misery Loves Company. We do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and share their work. Anyone is welcome to come and just lurk and watch. We tweet out the link right around when we begin from our Twitter account @Misery Tourism, all one word, and that's fucking it. Rudy, you can end the recording now.